I did my due diligence about researching which company I wanted to go with.
Yeah.
And I interviewed quite a bit of companies. And I actually decided to be with Angie because she's real and she's not pretentious. And I've had many financial people in the past who, and no offense to them, but they were on the, look at my pretty Chanel bag on the side.
Okay. Welcome to the Paso Robles podcast. I'm here today with Jolyn Silva. And the cool thing about what you do is we met at Alignable and you started talking to me about what you do a little bit, and we just had to meet. We ran some numbers, we did all these things, but I use this platform for people to come on and promote themselves however they want. And then I ask a few questions here and there. So I'll let you introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit of what you do, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Thank you, Miguel, for having me on the Paso Robles podcast. It's totally fun. I love it. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Jolyn Silva with GFI, Global Financial Impact. I teach people how to make money risk-free, tax-free. So I went to parochial schools all my life in beautiful Hawaii, but they didn't teach us about what to do with money. And I feel like that is a big deficit for the majority of us. So there are quite a bit of, I want to say, techniques or strategies that one can do that's not just for the affluent, not just for the 1% wealthy.
Yeah. So when you're saying that a lot of people aren't trained, or they're not, they haven't been taught how to make smart financial decisions, what specifically stands out with this company that you're trying to teach people? Because I know there's a lot of things, how to write a check. A lot of people don't even know how to do that, Yes. So what specifically are you wanting to focus on?
Yeah, I would love just to do a simple education on the 3 rules of money. And again, most people don't know what that is. Is that cool with you?
Yeah,
Yeah?
of course. And,
Okay.
and I know we got a slide set up for you. We can do that.
So the company that I work with is GFI, Global Financial Impact. And we're a brokerage company, meaning we work with multiple companies. One company is not necessarily going to fit that one particular client. So that's why I chose to work with GFI, Global Financial Impact. And most of the companies have been around for over 150 years. So meaning they're a legitimate company. We're actually licensed in all 50 states, in a couple of the territories in Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands, and we're in several countries. So this is the fun part. This is what I love teaching about, the 3 rules of money. And I feel like if we talk more about money, the more that will desensitize it, because money is one of those taboo subjects.
Yeah.
And so with that, I feel like if we heard about these 3 rules, we would learn how to strategize better and just be real with our money. So let's go through this really quickly here. So 3 rules of money. There's basically accumulation phase, protection phase, and distribution. The accumulation phase is all about the rule of 72, which is compound interest. How does our money double? How does our money double? Rule of 72. Albert Einstein actually coined this term. And Warren Buffett says this should be the 8th wonder of the world, because everyone should know about this.
Yeah.
And I simply want to get that education out there. So again, rule of 72, compound interest. How does our money grow? So say, for example, we put money into a 1% vehicle. Our money will grow. 72 divided by 1 is 72, meaning 72 years. Our money will double in 72 years. So say, for example, someone who is 29 invests $10,000. By the time they're 72 years later, at 101, they've accrued 20,000. Now let's jump over to the 12% vehicle. Again, 12% divided by 72 is 6 years. That simply means that our money will double every 6 years. Now, rhetorical question. Where do you think most people would put their money if they knew they had a difference?
In
the higher vehicles, right? But again, most people don't know about this. Right? Any questions on that, Miguel?
It's pretty straightforward.
Yes, perfect. The next phase is all about protection. How does our money grow? So either the fixed, the variable, or the indexed, right? And the fixed, that's the flat line. We're losing money due to inflation. And unfortunately, that's where most of us put our money in our credit unions, maybe a money market, maybe a CD, that type of a thing.
Under the mattress.
Exactly. Whatever, right? And variable, that's the stock market. Money can go up, money can go down. But unfortunately, as we know, in the last 25 years, the money can go to the point where they lose everything. And then we have the indexed, and that's what we do here at GFI, Global Financial Impact. Indexed strategy. It's a combination of the fixed and the variable. So when the stock market goes up, the index fund goes up. When the stock market crashes, it holds that there. So in the last 25 years, the indexed has done 8.1%. That's the average, which is really not bad compared to the dot-com burst in 2000 and then the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. So 8.1 in the last 25 years, not too bad.
Yeah.
So last phase, basically it's all about the distribution. How does our money get taxed? Either now, later, or advantaged, right? Now it's basically those naked accounts. IRS can see that money. If we owe IRS, they can take that money away. And that's our typical credit unions, banks, CDs, mutual funds. And then we have our tax later, and that's our government issued. Miguel, let me ask you, do you think taxes are going to be more or less?
Oh, much, much higher.
In the future.
Yeah.
You got it. Exactly. Unfortunately. And then the tax advantage. These are different strategies. This is how the affluent become wealthier and create that generational wealth by using life insurance as a cash accumulation. Never heard of this. Never, ever heard of this. And the reason why there's tax sanctioned IRS laws that protect these particular, that is not necessarily taxed. So let's just say, for example, an 18-year-old starting out, putting $150 a month, never touching it. By the time that they're retired age, they could possibly be a millionaire.
No.
This episode is brought to you by Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street. Craving something delicious in Paso Robles? Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street has you covered. Enjoy tasty sandwiches, fresh salads, and smoothies like the Banana Nut Blast, my personal favorite. Kick back on the covered patio, sip on a cold beer and wine, and enjoy the easy parking. Order online for pickup or dine-in. And here's a treat. Use promo code PODCAST for $5 off your next order. That's PODCAST for $5 off your next order. Open daily from 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Rad Scooter Deli. Local flavor, fast and fresh. This episode is sponsored by Western Janitor Supply. They have cleaning supplies and equipment for any workplace. Call today at 805-238-2112. They provide an extensive line of chemicals, paper products, and floor equipment. Again, that's Western Janitor Supply, located in downtown Paso Robles.
So simple strategies. Any questions?
So obviously this is information that a lot of people don't know when it comes to the daily decisions of money management, right? So when people are talking about where to put the money, like the first thing that goes is put in your savings account. You know, that's the big one. You know, and it's interesting to see because like that second part was like very much like stock market, right? The indexed. A lot of people don't even want to dabble in the stock market because of things that have happened in the world, right? The crashes and stuff. And if, people had their money in the 401k, and I think that tracks with the stock market, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess if this is so, if it's an easy decision, why are people having a hard time making it? Does that make sense?
I that's a very valid question. I love that, and I think that there's multiple factors, but one I think is it's a simple education. I think money is one of those taboo subjects. When money is lean, it doesn't mean that it has to be lean all the time, and so many families, many people don't want to talk about money. Most of it is within the household. So if you weren't taught about it, right? Or if you have a mentor. In school, obviously, we don't talk about that.
Right.
So I think there's multiple factors, but I think it really starts in just the simple conversations with your friends, with your colleagues.
So break that down a little bit more. What do you mean with your friends? Are you showing each other bank accounts? Like, what does that mean?
No. I'm just talking about, hey, you know what? I'm still learning. Just having a candid conversation. You know, I want the best for me and my friends. So what can we do that's legal and ethical to make some money? And I think that's just the candid conversation, because many people who do have the strategies don't necessarily want to teach it.
Right.
And there's more than enough for everyone. That's 100%. So meaning the more that we talk about it, the more that there's more growth.
Yeah. So let's say more and more people start doing the index funds. How does it benefit each other that way? Not just for your own money, but how does it benefit each other? Well,
I think it's going to help as a society in general. The more that we are birds of a feather, we are basically one of the 10 top people that we hang out with. So if your friends are doing well, therefore you're doing well. Yeah. If you're with somebody who's intellectual and wants to really strategize about healthy ways to create physical health or financial wealth, then that's how we're going to be. So the more that we talk about things in a healthy way, I think then that is going to help amongst ourselves, let alone society.
Yeah. So I guess that's why it's so important to go to networking meetings, right? Because those are the same mentality. People are trying to, get better, 1% better every day, all these little fun and inspiring things. But, going into it, and I'll put myself out there, I'm just starting networking, right? And as I grow in with that networking scene, I start thinking to myself, I should have started a while ago, because I feel the difference of me grinding on my own and grinding in me versus me grinding around other people who are doing something similar. It's very, very much like a social thing. It's almost like going to a concert and the music sounds better because of the fact that everybody's enjoying it instead of listening into your car,
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right. I think that the reality is you start where you are, no matter at what age or what position you are in regarding networking, but let alone even with money. Yeah. Right? Make sure that, you have some emergency fund, because the reality is we're going to need some money. We're going to need new tires, right? Something, right? But then also make sure that we don't have any debt as much as we can. Mortgage, that's fine, right? That's a good debt. Student loans, technically that's a good debt, right? But people who have credit card debt, that's real. And we can help with that. We can help have a strategy.
So if somebody's in credit card debt, let's say that all their credit cards are maxed out, they just, no matter how hard they feel like they're working, they're just not making enough to catch up. How are you going to convince them to be like, all right, I'm going to put money on the side to start working on this little nest egg when I can't even pay off what I have?
Great question. I wouldn't necessarily start saying, let's put away for this.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't. I would be real and just say, depends upon many factors again, right? Yeah. If they have a plan to work the debt off, I had to accumulate it because I had to get an attorney, something of that nature, but I have the means. But if they're in credit card debt, I wouldn't necessarily recommend having an IUL, an Index Universal Life policy, in an index strategy. I would say, okay, let's work on your budget. Let's go down to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And physiological, and figure out what's your budget.
This episode is sponsored by Valeria Noves with RE/MAX, your local real estate expert here in the Paso Robles and Central Coast. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, Valeria makes the process smooth, personal, and stress-free. She's bilingual, experienced, and ready to help. ¿Hablas español? Ella también. Call Valeria today at 805-212-6387 and let's get you a home. This episode is sponsored by Pueblo Furniture in Paso Robles. Skip the credit card headache. Talk to Roger and get 0% in-house financing on quality furniture you'll love. Visit them at 1030 Railroad and 10th Street or call 805-239-5942. That's Del Pueblo Furniture. Comfort you want, payments you can handle. Y sí, se habla español. Just ask for Roger.
Right. So you help people with figuring out their budget?
If they need help with their budget, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm always seeing or hearing like statistics online and on the news or whatever, and there's a huge part of the population that are in credit card debt to the point where like they're living beyond their means. And to me, how would you get to those people? What's a few strategies you're doing to try to get to them aside from like networking?
Yeah, I think having a side gig, right? Knowing that, okay, I'm going to make a little extra money on this specific job, this specific side gig. I think that works. This is America, right? Meaning we can make as much money as we want, but we also have to be strategic about it. Life doesn't necessarily make it easy,
right?
But we can definitely create more strategies that help us.
And how are you getting that information to them?
Yeah, so meaning
besides the podcast.
yeah. I mean, I do quite a bit of networking groups, right? And I do have my own team. I'm in the process of growing my business to have other brokers and creating my own brokerage company within GFI. And so for those who do want to learn more about how to make more money, but also for themselves, then please feel free to contact me.
Yeah. So what motivated you? Because I know you told me you used to have a different career.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. The different career and what made you change.
Yeah, I love it. I've had a wide variety of careers. Literally a sharpshooter with immigration before it was ICE in the 80s and 90s, and to a crisis counselor for teens who are pregnant, to massage therapist and esthetician, and to a corporate trainer and recruiter. And about 2 years ago, I woke up with an epiphany. Teach people about money. I was doing really well. I wasn't necessarily looking for a job.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, I was laid off from that corporate job that I was doing so well due to AI. There's no recruiter jobs in that position at that company anymore. And that was a perfect transition. I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So took a few months, figure out which company I wanted to work with. And there it is. I absolutely love it.
So when you had the epiphany, and this is at the time you had the job, let's say, what did you already know then when you had the epiphany, and what do you know now that's like helped you better define what this whole opportunity is?
Yeah, I love that, because I just had an epiphany about teaching people about money, but the reality is there's so much more, meaning you really can help make an impact, not just about money, but everything. Everything is very interrelated, meaning your health and your wealth, right?
Yeah.
So the more that we have like a better understanding of our money and able to do well in the sense, then our encompassing life can be better.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Santos Bros Plumbing. Are you in need of a dependable and effective plumber you can trust? Look no further than Santos Bros Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers in Paso Robles, California. Call them now at 805-360-4679. That's Santos Bros Plumbing. This episode is sponsored by Lion Pro Flooring. Give new life to your floors with beautiful, professionally installed flooring. Whether it's hardwood, luxury vinyl, or carpet, your home deserves quality you can feel and craftsmanship you can trust. Serving Paso Robles in all of SLO County, Lion Pro Flooring is your local expert in transforming spaces. Call or text 805-712-3710 for a free estimate today. That's 805-712-3710. Lion Pro Flooring, when quality matters.
Yeah. So walk me through what a typical day is for you. Like, because I know before we started the show, you kind of centered yourself a little bit because everybody does get anxious being on camera and stuff like that. So walk me through your day. Like, how do you keep yourself grounded from waking up until planning the next day at the end of the night?
Yeah, I love that. We're all multidimensional, right? We don't have necessarily one aspect of one ourselves, right? I love my job and I love my career. But at the same token, I take care of my mom, who's 86 years old, who has cognitive impairment. So before I got here, made sure my mom was good.
Yeah.
And we had her nurse coming in to ensure that what's the plan of action for the next couple of weeks. So I start my day with my emails and making sure my mom is set. And I do Tibetan breathing exercises to help me ground. And I go to quite a bit of networking groups. And I have to say, these networking groups are very social, but they're for business, and it's great for business. So I balance my mom with my new business.
So as far as going to these networking events and stuff like that, are there any that kind of like you kind of gravitated more towards? Because I know there's some that I've heard about, and you start looking at what they're talking about. I was like, oh, these are more realtor people, and you go somewhere else and like, oh, these are more specific. Is there anything that kind of stood out for you more? Like, what is your ideal networking group?
Yeah, I love that. I think they're all wonderful.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, the alignable, right? We have 2 in the county in the Association of Realtors at Pismo Beach area, and then in the Nantascadero, and Jolyn, right, who is the ambassador for the alignable in Pismo Beach. She's on top of it, and she's just amazing. But I also love the Central Coast Conscious Community by Kaylee, and that is more for the spiritual, esoteric. And some people are like, why would finance be in that arena? And I feel like because that group really do not know about the education about finance.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that world. People make money, but they don't know necessarily what to do with that money. They don't necessarily know how to retire and how to put their money in the retirement plan. There's also a new one that I went to recently called the Central Coast Connection Club, put on by Vanessa. And that was a fun one too. A little more casual.
Yeah.
But again, networking is networking.
Right.
Right? You connect with whom you connect.
Yeah, there's plenty of times where, like, let's say I'm having a glass of wine or something, and what do you do, or whatever, and like that comes up, and you start talking it out, and all of a sudden they're on your podcast, and and I think that's why I love having the podcast show, because I can invite them on, but at the same time is like being able to promote them and boost them however I can is kind of cool. So when I go to these alignable meetings, it's like I'm meeting people, and right there, that's the perfect, when you're afraid to talk to people, right there's the perfect opportunity to kind of expose yourself to that, because people are also feeling the same way, and they're pushing the boundaries. Like, hey, hi, how are you? How was it? What for me? I still get like shy every once in a while, but once I meet like one person, I'm like good after that. I have to have that initial. So that's my goal every time is like meet one person and then you're fine. Because now if worst case scenario, you can just talk to that person and that's your buddy, right? How did you go into the networking? Like, what did you feel going into networking, like events and stuff like that? Or did you always want, were you always in that world before? Because I know you had, multiple careers.
Yeah, I actually love networking.
Yeah.
I do. I did it when I had my skincare and massage business in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And what seemed to work, especially in the beginning, is that you have a buddy to either you're going to meet there or you drive together.
Yeah.
And then you don't necessarily sit together. You don't necessarily hang out together. Maybe midway, we chit chat to kind of feel like, like our
Keep the
safety
momentum
net,
going. Yeah.
And then afterwards we'll connect again.
Okay.
Hey, how did it go for you? Did you meet your 3 people? Did you meet your power partners?
Okay.
And then that way you feel like you have somebody who you know and you trust and you feel comfortable. But the goal is, again, just be yourself because like you said, many people are in a similar situation and that's a healthy environment. Again, people like-minded.
Right.
They want to learn about your business, but they also want to promote their business.
This episode is brought to you by the White Wave Wellness. Choose to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a process of change and growth towards a mentally and physically healthy lifestyle. Reach out to Jennifer Hale to learn more about how this water can change your life.
Is there anybody that you've worked with that you can't not work with? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, let's say you met them and your gut instinct says, I have to work with that person. Like, how many times has that happened to you? Because it happens to me quite often, and I'm just like, I have to talk to that person. I have to know that person. I have to be part of their journey some way or some shape or form. I have to do that. Do you get any of those feelings, or I think I might just be thinking for myself right now?
No. I love that. The first person that actually comes into mind when you said that, like, I have to work with that person is actually my broker, Angie or Angelique Palomera.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I did my due diligence about researching which company I wanted to go with.
Yeah.
And I interviewed quite a bit of companies, and I actually decided to be with Angie because she's real and she's not pretentious. And I've had many financial people in the past who, and no offense to them, but they were on the, look at my pretty Chanel bag on the side. Okay. And that's not me. Yeah. And that's not Angie, even though she does very well. And I really wanted to work with her.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to talking to her more in the future too.
Yes.
And I guess, it's very interesting because, like, I feel like growing up, I saw people with, being materialists or whatever, like as a status and whatnot. And I don't remember ever like feeling missing, like I'm missing out. But as I get older, I, for some reason, start feeling like, oh, I need that or I need this or whatever. And it probably started after smartphones came out. That was a big, I think that's where the big shift happened, because now everybody's on their phone looking at everybody else. And, I like to think like I'm strong enough to not always feel that way, but it does happen every once in a while. Like it'll pop in my head. I'm like, I want that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like,
exactly.
And I think that's like consumerism or something like that.
Oh,
right?
100%. There's so much isms, right, out there. But for me, it was interesting is classism was really prevalent for me. And I don't buy into that anymore. Now that I have a healthy sense of self.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one's better than anyone else just because they have a little more money or they appear to have a little more money.
Yeah. That's one of those big ones is faking it until you make it kind of thing. And it's fun. I've met successful people, and I've always been interested in how they got to that point, right? That's my curiosity. Not what do they have. It's more how did they get there. And there's a few guys I work with here, and I won't shout them out right now because they're trying to start a podcast with me and stuff like that. But I remember when they came in, one of them's a banker, one of them's a winemaker, and the other one's a construction worker. And right away, they're the silliest guys, right? But when it came to talking about their specific niche, oh, they were experts. Like you can tell right away, like that's their bread and butter. Mm-hmm. But then as soon as like they turn it off, they're like the silliest guys. Like there's no way they're a construction worker or a banker. But that's one of the things about successful people, or at least people I feel like are successful in life, is they're not proving anybody anything. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, I gotta learn to be more like that and not like try to show off anything. Yeah. You lived in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that time period, and what decided to move, and then do you miss it? Whatever you want to say about that.
Okay. Yeah. I grew up in beautiful Hawaii in the country, small little town called Ka'ava on the northeast end of the island on Oahu. And I'm the youngest of 5. And my sister, Canela Silva, she does a business with me. She lives 5 hours away from me in Sonoma, but she and I talk nearly every day, personally, but also business. And she was like my surrogate mom.
Yeah.
I'm a decent person because of her. My mom and dad did the best that they could. Yeah. And like I mentioned, I went to parochial schools. But because we lived in the country, the schools, there's no private schools in the country. So the commute was long.
Yeah.
And talking about classism, even in grammar school, people would be, what does your dad do? What does your dad do? And in high schools, definitely saw classism. And mind you, it's an all-girls private school. You would think because it's a Catholic school, no, unfortunately, it wasn't as loving as we would have liked it to be. I worked for U.S. Immigration in college. I was the youngest immigration officer, and did that for 8.5 years after undergraduate. And I thankful for the experience. And I worked at the San Ysidro border. And I'm not trying to get political or anything like that. Hey, people are just trying to make a better living for themselves.
Yeah.
But I resigned after working there because the amount of drugs that came through the border, there's something wrong with our system.
Yeah.
There's something, it didn't feel like I was there for a purpose. So I decided to move to the Bay Area where my sister lived in my mid-20s and pursued my graduate degree at Santa Clara University, wonderful school. And then I wanted to go to a PhD. And what scared me was the student loans. I had a colleague who was newly PhD, $250,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So long story short, I wanted to get into the healing arts. And that's how I got into the massage field and skincare. And I had that business for 17 years, and I sold it, and I moved to the Central Coast. And yeah, I totally dig it. I definitely miss Hawaii. I definitely have plans to move back to Hawaii, and my goal is 3 to 5 year plan. So
cool. Yeah. I mean, that's a great goal to have.
yeah.
The interesting part that you said you sold it after 17 years, right?
Yes.
So that means to me, I try to wrap my head as like, okay, what requirements did you meet for yourself to say, I'm going to sell it? Because I'm guessing you had people working under you and you were working on it, not in it.
Both.
I mean, you were still hands-on. Okay.
I worked on the business, but I also worked in the business, doing the actual work and doing the services and selling products and so forth. Yeah. So, but I had the plan that when I wanted to sell the business, so I had all the financials all organized and set. So
Was that always the goal? Was to sell it, or was it like later in the years when you're like, I got some point I'm going to sell this?
Well,
Like, when did that decision? Because when you start it, I don't think I'm going to sell this particular platform or business style. But then I think about, well, if I grow it to a certain point and I'm like working on it, not in it, like it can be something, you know?
You absolutely, it can definitely be something.
Yeah.
When I first started, I didn't necessarily think of that.
Yeah.
But again, when you're with people who talk about money and talk about business and again, legitimate, right? Legal and ethical money making opportunities, then I'm like, oh, I see. I do actually have a viable option to sell the business. So
yeah, I watched this guy. I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but he walks around asking people who have been successful, like, you know, when did you make your first million and how'd you do it and blah blah blah. And there was multiple people that kept coming up like, oh, I buy and sell businesses, or I create and sell businesses, or something along those lines. But it was always like the next. I'm like, and to me, like, having your favorite pair of shoes, you're not going to like give it away right away. So it's like, I'm trying to not train my mind, but understand it more. Like how is that? Apparently it works. That strategy works, you know, because, you know, they're doing, and then all of a sudden that feeling of my stomach goes like, I want that, you know? So I'm like, whoa, calm down.
well, like any business, right? Any thought,
Yeah.
think big, start small.
Yeah.
You can have your dreams, you can have your goals.
Yeah.
And I have to say though that with GFI, they really talk about the esoteric, the spirituality. What's the energy that you're emitting? And I've never come across any company, corporate world, financial company that really hones on, you know thyself. What are your goals? What are your dreams? You are doing a good service. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a question a lot of people avoid asking sometimes, especially for like a 9-to-5 job, because if they ask it, the reality is there's not really purpose behind it other than to make somebody else money, right? Or make a bigger corporation money. But I guess one of the things I find myself doing a lot is, because I'm trying to understand how successful people are working and stuff like that, these things that they do, and I won't mention who, but we talked about an influencer who's touching his hands on a lot of things. So diversifying, right? Down the road, once you start really gaining that momentum and surrounding yourself with the right people and all that stuff, that I'm like looking forward to. It just feels like it's going to take forever, you know?
I think we talked about it yesterday about you have to feel passionate about it, right? Like there's nothing wrong with multiple streams of income, but you have to have some passion in it, right? And especially like this business, right? Paso Robles podcast. It's a viable business, and it's your baby, but it's okay if you sell it down the road, right? So I think it's an interesting concept. The more that we talk about it, the more that we'll create more ideas.
Yeah, and you see people like on YouTube saying how to make money or doing this, how to make money doing that. Sure, you can follow a specific like blueprint of what they did and stuff like that. But yeah, I think passion is a big part of being successful. And if you're not passionate about it, I think you're just chopping down another tree with the same old dull axe.
Yeah. Reality is we're going to work hard.
Yeah.
Is it going to be for somebody else?
Right.
Or for your own self? And if you're going to work for yourself, you definitely have to enjoy and feel passionate about that.
Yeah. 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 Passion. That's a big word. That's a big word that I and that's why I think I gravitate towards people who have been successful in what they're doing, is because they see the passion as they're talking about it. And then the people who haven't been, by definition, successful, or how they feel unsuccessful. I asked this question the other day when we weren't running the numbers. It was like, you were showing me the slideshow, and I asked, what's stopping people from cashing out the 401k now and then just jumping into GFI. And you told me there's a few things. One, they can't pull it out until a certain age, right? But the people that are that age or quit their job or get fired or whatever, how I still don't see them understanding if and when to jump over, right? So how do you talk, like, how would you tell them that?
Yeah, I get it. I think we think that, and no offense to anyone or any
And it's
company
not financial
or
advice.
anything.
It's more like,
just education.
Yeah.
I think we're taught that, put your money away.
Yeah.
And we just don't know what vehicles, where to put it,
Yeah.
right? And so, again, there's the basic education. We have like an 11-minute video. The more that people understand like a new concept, then they can actually do their research and maybe talk to other people and so forth. And so what's interesting is many of my friends from immigration days, from my first job, they're retired now. And because they did their, 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And, but many have to go back to work, even with their pension, because they don't realize the taxes and so forth. The people who don't have to work is they found out about life insurance,
Index funds.
at a young
Yeah.
age. At 18, 22.
Oh, yeah. You showed the examples of
right?
that. Yeah.
So meaning they're supplementing their income. And again, there's nothing wrong with multiple streams of income. So, but back to the whole, how do you convince someone? Well, I'm not trying to here to convince anyone. I'm just here to educate people.
Yeah.
It's their choice or where they want to take it. And if they're totally closed off, then that's okay. They're not ready. But there's many people who want to be educated, who want better for themselves. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. A lot of people are closed off. That's why you're telling me about talking about money in general. And gosh darn it, I don't like talking about money right now because, small business owner, it's a tough one. There's a lot, especially in Paso, a lot of small business owners, right? And I'm sure like they stress about every part of their business financially for sure. And it's just one of those things where like, I'm not, I don't like giving people financial advice because one, I don't understand it myself as much as I should. But when you told me the other day, it's like we're about to hit, or we're starting to see the baby boomers retire, and simultaneously being able to educate people who are 18 and older. Because at 18, life insurance, all that stuff. So it's like you see these two opportunities. Like, how do you wrap your head? I mean, obviously you get excited because you can help both ends. But how do you like keep yourself like ready to talk about it? Yeah,
I love it. I mean, again, you just talking with people, you start with your friends and family, right? And then the networking groups, and you just let them know, like, look, I'm starting my business. I want to really grow my business. And I just want to educate you on what I do.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean you might need my services, but someone probably will need my services.
Yeah.
And we kind of go from there. We just have a real conversation. A lot of people don't want to talk about money.
Yeah.
Right? Like we talked about. It's not necessarily a bad thing because I think we grew up with it as a taboo subject, kind of like death, life insurance and death. Oh, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, I do not want to make a will.
Right,
just
right.
because I don't even want to think about it.
Right. I get it. But the more that we, again, talk about it, we desensitize it.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes money can be a little lean. Doesn't mean it has to be lean all the time. It's better to be upfront about it instead of being an ostrich, putting our head in the sand.
Yeah. No, I've had those moments. Head in the sand. That's a good way to put it, like an ostrich. So, is there anything that you want the audience, the listeners, the watchers to know before we wrap this thing? We went 43 minutes, by the way.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Sweet.
It's easy when you start getting in the flow of things.
Absolutely.
First, how are they able to reach you if they want to talk about more GFI? Because this was a 3-slide thing, but you said you have an 11-minute video.
Yeah,
you go to them. They can go to you, Zoom, whatever. You can take this next few minutes and tell the audience how can they reach you and, whatever else you want to say.
Sure. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity. Jolyn Silva. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on LinkedIn. And my number is 805-400-5455. And my email, Silva, SILVA, .Jolyn, JOLYN, @gmail.com. And we can just have a candid conversation about where you are, and we go from there. Again, thanks, Miguel, for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.